All right, so I'm going to show you how to use these calculators. I'm going to go pretty quickly, so I do apologize. But I think they're pretty simple to use. So I'm going to put in so this is the NerdWallet calculator first. I like the Nerd calculator one. This is my favorite one, but I'm going to show you all three. So first you put in your age. I'm 40. Income, I'm not going to say my real income. Let's just make it an easy 100,000 just to be a nice even number. What are my savings? Let's imagine that I have 50,000 in savings. How much am I going to contribute? Now, a lot of people do contributions as percentages rather than flat dollar amounts. So I'm just going to use a percentage here. I honestly, I do 15%. I think I've said that a lot in class. And then you notice here it says monthly budget and retirement. Um, so typically you require less money when you're retired. You're not really saving money when you're retired, right? Because you're already retired. So you will actually need less money, right? Because you're not going to be saving that extra money when you're retired. Hopefully, you're not making mortgage payments if you're a homeowner. So hopefully your expenses have also gone down as you've retired. Now I'm going to say, let's just say 80%. I don't know why, but I'm just going to put 80% of my monthly budget. I'll need that in my retirement. I'll probably be traveling more, but anyway, we'll just say 80%. Now, here's the thing that's interesting, other retirement income. So, for most of us, you're either going to have a Social Security benefits or you're going to have some kind of pension. As a teacher, I have a pension. If you work for the government, you probably have a pension. Or you may have, I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, you may have other sources of income in retirement. So I do have a pension in addition to my own personal investments. So I'm going to say I did actually use the calculator for teachers for a teacher's pension. There's also a calculator for that. I'm going to say, we'll just say 4,000 a month. I always like to underestimate my requirements for when it comes to investing because I don't want to assume that I'm going to have a lot of money. So I always underestimate by about 20 or 30% just to be safe. But that's me. That's the way I think. I'm always too careful. So let's just say 4,000 a month for my pension. But I am paying over 10% of my income every month to my pension. So this is already coming out of my pocket, right? So hopefully this money is still there when I retire because I don't trust pensions, to be honest. I did check my Social Security pension using a calculator. I did work before I was a teacher. I did work for a long time, but I didn't make a lot of money because I was still really young. So I think I'm only going to get like $300 a month from Social Security. So I can't rely on that, of course. But you may have a lot more depending on your job. Okay, now here's where it gets even more interesting. So advanced details, right? So I want to retire at 62. I think I've told everybody, but I would like to work part time after retirement, just a little bit here and there, maybe as a substitute teacher or maybe just teach one class for like 10 hours a week. How long am I going to live? Well, let's just say 80 years old. Who knows, right? I want to be a healthy 80. I don't want to be, a vegetable. So we'll just say 80 years old. But hopefully I can be healthier longer than that. My mom is 78 and she's very healthy. Her brain, her body, everything's really good. So hopefully I can do well. But I think I take good care of my spine body. Okay, pre-retirement rate of return. So this is for your investments. Typically, they use a 6% for a calculator. I feel that my investments are pretty good, so I'm going to put in 7%. And you notice here it says post-retirement rate of return, and you notice it's lower. And that's typically because, as I mentioned before, that when people retire, they get closer to retirement. They want safer or more conservative investments. So they typically have a lower rate of return, but they're also, less risky. So I'm actually going to put that at 4%. Okay. Inflation rate 3%. We'll leave it at that. Annual income increase 2% is, yeah, okay. I'm going to put 1.5 because that's actually my annual increase rate at the moment. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to be pretty safe, to be honest. Now, who knows what's going to happen? This is just an estimate. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? And this is not real as well because I didn't put all of my real information, but it's not too far from reality. And I've done this a few times before last year for my own retirement planning, and I feel pretty safe. So I don't really worry about my retirement anymore. Anyway, so that's the Nerd Wallet. If you go to the Vanguard one, it's it doesn't look as nice, but I mean it's not bad. But you're just putting in your same information here. So I'm 40 years old. I want to retire at 62. I make, again, this is not my real income. I'm just putting it here because it's a nice clean number. I want to save 15% of my income. I've already saved 50,000. Let's see, that's not true. I only have about 10,000 right now. And let's say 80% in retirement. And annual return, that's pretty low. Okay, so additional income sources, Social Security benefit. I did a calculation. I think it was like 250. Monthly pension should be okay, about 4,000. So let's see what happens here. So this is giving me a different result. Yeah, and so that's why it's kind of good to check out different calculators. Based on when you may have retirement balance. Oh, I know why. Because it didn't include contributions. So let me try again. Let's see, and save. Okay, it does say that. Save 15% of my income annually for retirement. I've already saved 50. Yeah, okay. So you're gonna get different numbers depending on which one you use. I think this one doesn't ask for your age, your life expectancy. So you say that there's differences. Okay. And then let's go to the Ramsey one. The Ramsey one, I don't know if you know Dave Ramsey. He's kind of popular. Maybe I'll put in a link. A lot of people disagree with him, but he is interesting. I'll say that. So um, let's see what Dave Ramsey says about target date funds. This is pretty old, but oh, this is a new one. Okay. So he's funny. He's interesting. A lot of people disagree with him, but that's okay. I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the on this page. Okay, so again, I'm going to put in my age, 40. I want to retire 62. How much money do I have? We'll say 50,000. Not true. So here it's not giving me a percent, so I'm just going to put the percent here. I mean, put the dollar value, 15,000. Annual return, let's do 7%. I think that's realistic. That is, oh, I made a mistake here. No, I'm not going to put in 15,000. This is monthly. Whoops. Okay. Let's put 1,200 a month. That's about 15%. Okay, much better. So I have 19 years to retirement. Oh, no, that's not right. 62. I don't know why it went to 59. Okay, so I have 22 years. I'll have almost $1 million. But you see, it did not include my pension here. See, so that's why I prefer the Nerd Wallet one. I feel like it asks for the most information, but this is fine. Again, these are just estimates. You're just trying to get an idea of what you might need, and then of course you want to think more carefully later, plan more carefully later. Maybe have an advisor help you, but this is a good start. Okay, just so that you understand the basic ideas behind planning for retirement. Okay. And then here's what I like about the Ramsey calculator, though. It's kind of funny here. So if you add $100 extra per month, you could have an extra 36,000 in growth. If you stop drinking coffee, or I should say buying coffee, then that could be an additional $46,000. If you don't go to the restaurant as much, you could save more money. So I think it's kind of funny. It kind of shows you like the little things that we do every day, or the little things we spend our money on every week. If you think 20 or 30 years into the future, or even 10 years into the future, that's going to add up to a lot, right? So that's the one thing I like about this Ramsey calculator. It makes you think kind of about how you're spending your money, but the little things you're doing. And so if you just add an extra $100 or $200 per month to your retirement savings, that could be a huge difference in the future, right? And you're not really going to notice, right? I forgot what it was. There was another person I listened to have really good advice about when you start your monthly contributions, which are deducted from your paycheck, right? So if it's an automatic deduction, they recommended starting very small, like $50 or $100. And then, you say, okay, because your paycheck is going to be smaller. And you say, okay, maybe after 2 or 3 months, you say, you know what, I'm okay. I didn't really notice the difference. So then I'm going to increase it to 150. And then you do that for 2 or 3 months. And you say, you know what, I'm comfortable with this. I don't really notice a big difference. I'm adjusting my spending habits. So then you do $200 a month automatic. And then you don't really notice. You say, hey, you know what, I'm not really noticing the difference in my, daily life, than my day-to-day, you know, routine. So you say, okay, I'm going to try $250 a month. And then, so you can try little by little building up your monthly contributions so that it doesn't feel like too much of a shock. Um, I always joke with everybody that I feel poor. And that's not true. I'm not poor, not at all. But because of the salary reductions monthly are so big from my paycheck that it feels like I'm poor. But I got used to it after a while. I might need to adjust it again because I think I need a little bit more money to take care of my pets. But again, you make these small adjustments, and hopefully by making small adjustments, you won't really notice so much. Okay, so those are the three calculators. They're all a little bit different. They all have their pros and cons. But why don't you just try one that you like and play with a little bit, and then you can always do some more, after this assignment, in the future. This is not something that you're going to just do once and forget about, right? This is your future we're talking about. But now you know what you can do and what the important terms are and so on.